by King Nabonidus, who left Belshazzar in charge at Babylon Nineveh, Assyrian capital, which fell to a coalition of Chaldeans and Medes in 632 BCE. Karchemish. Nebuchadnezzar II defeated Egyptian forces here, establishing Babylonian supremacy in Syria. Jerusalem became tributary to Babylon in 620 BCE, besieged by Babylonian forces in 618-617 and in 609-607 BCE. Tyre capitulated to Babylonian forces after a 13-year siege. 321 Caspian Cscri Karchemish Nineveh Tigrisriver Desriver Damascus Tyre Jerusalem Temeelam Babylon Shushan Persia Gulf Egyptga Tsia Media. A reconstruction of the Ishtar Gate ziggurat at Ur. The tower erected at Babel was likely a religious ziggurat such as this. This inscription sets out the boasting of Nebuchadnezzar II regarding all he did to enlarge and extend Babylon. Compared R4. 30 walls of Babylon. The city appeared to be impregnable. It was protected by a massive system of double walls. A second set of walls surrounded the eastern part of the city. A wall also served as a protection along the eastern bank of the Euphrates, which ran through the city. The Temple of Marduk was the central feature of Babylon. Associated with it was the Tower of Et-Menanke, viewed by some as the Tower of Babel, which reached to a height of 91 meters, 300 feet. Decoration from Babylon's processional way. Interestingly, Babylon is symbolized in the Bible by a lion. 7. 4. Clay model of a sheep's liver, inscribed with omens and magical formulas. Used in Babylon for divination. Compares 21. 20-22 Nabonidus, the last supreme monarch of Babylon, with symbols of his gods: crescent of the moon god Sin, winged disc of the sun god Shamash, star of Ishtar. Looking to the heavenly bodies, and the gods that were associated with these, did not save Babylon. Isra 47. 12-15 This is claimed to be the oldest remaining example of a horoscope. From Babylonia. Believed to date from the 5th century BCE, the ruins of ancient Babylon testify to the reliability of Bible prophecy. Babylon was once the decoration of kingdoms. Now it is a desolate waste. Isra 13. 19-22. J 50. 13. The Fall of Babylon. Nabonidus Chronicle. A cuneiform tablet that confirms the sudden fall of Babylon to Cyrus. Ancient Jerusalem enjoyed a unique distinction. It was the only earthly city upon which Jehovah placed his name. 1 K 11. 36 It was also the center for the pure worship of Jehovah. His temple was built there, and for that reason Jerusalem could especially be called God's resting place. PS 132. 13, 14. 135. 21 In addition, Jerusalem was the location where the kings of the Davidic line sat on Jehovah's throne, representing him by administering his laws. 1 Ch 29. 23. In contrast, ancient Babylon was the center from which false worship spread to all parts of the earth. It was of special significance, therefore, when Jehovah permitted Babylon to destroy unfaithful Jerusalem. In 620 BCE Jerusalem was made a subject to Babylon. 2 Chi 24. 3 years later, in 617 BCE the Babylonians deported many of Jerusalem's inhabitants, its nobility, its mighty men, and its craftsmen, and looted the city's treasures. 2 Ch 36. 5-10 Finally, the city, along with the temple, was destroyed and thousands of Jews were taken into exile. 2 Ch 36. 17-20. Jerusalem's destruction took place in 607 BCE, a very significant year from the standpoint of Bible prophecy. Although this date differs from the one used by many Bible commentators, it is used consistently in this publication. Why? Because we give greater weight to the testimony of the Bible than to the conclusions that scholars have drawn from the fragmentary record of history that is available on cuneiform tablets. Jerusalem's conquest by Babylon. Babylonian chronicle that tells of Nebuchadnezzar's capturing Jerusalem, seizing the king, and appointing one of his own choice. 617 BCE According to some archaeologists, this burnt room excavated in Jerusalem dates back to the destruction of Jerusalem at the time of Judah's last king 326. The Medes and the Persians are referred to repeatedly in the scriptures, because they pursued a policy of religious toleration that served to fulfill Bible prophecy. Jehovah had permitted the Jews to be taken into captivity by Babylon, a nation that did not release captive peoples. Yet, God also had foretold Jewish restoration to their homeland. Jer 27, 22, 30. 3 Medo-Persia, referred to in the Bible symbolically as Aberdar 7. 5, served Jehovah's purpose in this regard. Shortly after Babylon's fall, Persian King Cyrus decreed that the formerly captive Jews could return to their homeland and rebuild Jehovah's temple. As 1. 2-4 Darasi later honored this decree. As 6. 1-11 King Ahasuerus, evidently Xerxes I, when properly informed, signed a decree that thwarted a scheme to exterminate the Jews. As 7. 3. 8. 14 In 455 BCE King Artaxerxes Longimanus granted permission for Nehemiah to rebuild Jerusalem's walls, thus beginning the prophetic countdown to the appearance of the Messiah. Ne 2. 3-8. Dar 9. 25. The Persian Empire principal locations Pasargadae. An early Persian capital Shushan. Former Elamite capital that became administrative center of the Medo-Persian Empire Persepolis. A royal city built by Emperors Darasi, Xerxes I, and Artaxerxes Longimanus Ecbatana. Summer capital of the empire. It has been the capital of Media Babylon. A royal city of the empire. Because of the torrid summer weather, the city seldom served as more than a winter capital Gorgamila. Site of the defeat of Persia's vast army under Darius III by Alexander the Great in 331 BCE, thus marking the end of the empire. 327 BLAC Essia MSCEDO Annihili Diagray at Essia SSYI Gorgamila TGRISRIVER Upara TSRIVER Babylon SYI Damascus Jerusalem ME Diak Batana PRTHI Elam Shushan Pasarkade PRSI Persepolis PRZN GULF India and DUS Rivier in Dia NOCEA in Egypt Memphis Thebes in Isla River Red Sea Ethiopia. Relief work showing Medes with round hats and Persians with fluted hats. Modern Hamadan in Iran, the site of ancient Ecbatana. Here Cyrus the Great had a palace. His policy of religious toleration greatly benefited the Jews. The Cyrus cylinder, a 9-inch long 23 cm clay document that records Cyrus' capture of Babylon and the liberation of Exel's cylinder seal of Darasi and its impression, showing him on a lion hunt and his god Arimazda in the sky above. Darius upheld the Jews in their temple rebuilding work in Jerusalem, ruins from ancient Persepolis. Here Darius I, Xerxes I, and Artaxerxes Longimanus built palaces. Excavations of ancient town area in Shushan. Decorations typical of those that adorned the palace audience hall at Shushan. Mordecai and Esther before King Ahasuerus, evidently Xerxes I. In 607 BCE the once prosperous land of Judah was made a desolate waste, without an inhabitant, as Jewish captives were led away to exile in Babylon and a remnant fled to Egypt. Jer 9. 11 The God of loving kindness, though, would not leave his people in exile forever. He foretold that they would have to serve the king of Babylon 70 years, after which he would deliver a faithful remnant. Jer 25. 11, 12. 29. 10-14 And not even the seemingly impregnable world power of Babylon could thwart God's stated purpose. The return of the Jewish exiles demonstrates the unerring accuracy with which Jehovah's prophecies are fulfilled. Even before the end of the 70 years of exile, Babylon fell, in 539 BCE to the invading armies of Persian King Cyrus. Then, during his first year as ruler of Babylon, Cyrus issued a decree opening the way for the Jewish exiles to return to Jerusalem. As 1-4 a remnant that numbered 42-360 including men, women, and children made the journey, arriving in Judah in 537 BCE as 1-5 3-1-4. Thus the 70 years desolation ended exactly on time. Not all the exiles returned at that time, however. In 468 BCE another group of returnees accompanied the priest Ezra, who brought to Jerusalem gifts for the temple. Ez 7. 1. 8. 32 Then in 455 BCE Nehemiah traveled from Shushan to rebuild Jerusalem's walls. Ne 2. 5, 6, 11 As to the exact route followed by the returnees, the scriptures are silent. Some reasonable possibilities are shown on the map. Exiles return from Babylon. Cyrus Cylinder, which states the policy of Cyrus to return captives to their homelands and to aid in restoration of their temples. 332 possible routes of returning exiles. Roadways. Persian Gulf. Shushan Babylon. Tigrisrivereutesriver Tadmor. Damascus. Jerusalem. Temagiriatse. Amazing events in Greek history have fulfilled Bible prophecy. Greece seemed an unlikely candidate for world power, as its people were divided into independent tribes and city-states. But Bible prophecy recorded in the 6th century BCE pointed to a dramatic change. Symbolizing Greece first as a leopard with wings and then as a he-goat with a conspicuous horn, it foretold in an unmistakable way that Greece would trample down the Medo-Persian world power. It also disclosed that the power of a conspicuous horn would be broken and that 4 others would come up instead of it. 7. 6. 8. 5-8, 20-22. 11. 3, 4. Alexander the Great proved to be that conspicuous horn. Beginning in 334 BCE, he led a small, but well-disciplined Greek army to one victory after another. With lightning speed he conquered Asia Minor, Syria, Palestine, Egypt, and the entire Medo-Persian Empire as far as India. But in just a few years Alexander was dead, and in a relatively short time his empire was split 4 ways, among 4 of his generals. The Grecian Empire was short-lived, but its effects were long-lasting. Before his death, Alexander had introduced Greek culture and the Greek language into all parts of his domain. Common Greek became the lingua franca of many nationalities, and this later contributed to the rapid spread of Christianity throughout the Mediterranean area. Grecian Empire. Athens, with the site of the ancient Agora in the foreground and the Acropolis in the background on the right. Even after Greece ceased to be a world power, Athens remained an international cultural center. 333. In 323 BCE, at 32 years of age, Alexander was